Thank you for joining me for another edition of Tips That Wow. Except it isn't. I'm not going to give you a tip this time, I'll tell you the truth. But I thought I'd tell you something that you might find very interesting. I had quite a week last week, and I've had a fairly quiet spell, and all of a sudden I got a load of things happening all at once. I was expecting to do a funeral on Monday, which I was ready for, and just before that on the Saturday there was a wedding which I planned for, and that went brilliantly. But what I hadn't expected was just before that, on the Thursday, I got a contact from a Paris travel agent on behalf of a Quebec travel agent who was dealing with a couple that wanted to come over to Europe and have a vow renewal. Would I do the ceremony for them? Well, of course I would. What I didn't expect was that it was a week away, namely last Wednesday. Well, that's okay, I work fast and I can usually manage these things, but I couldn't get into contact with these people because it turns out that the Paris people had given the Quebec people, had given the clients the wrong contact details, and then everything was closed at the weekend. So on Monday the Quebec people flew to London and they arrived. I was having the ceremony on Wednesday and I hadn't made contact with them, and what was more complicated was because he didn't speak good English and was embarrassed about it, he wouldn't ring me. So it was a little bit confusing, but in the end we managed through texts to get something sorted, and it was fine on Wednesday. In fact, I ended up doing some of it in French, which I hadn't anticipated, but it went really well. I'd also got an inquiry that Monday for a funeral on Thursday, and 3 days notice is not much, believe me. And the other thing I also had was an inquiry from South Africa. They wanted to do a vow renewal secret to the husband, but do a vow renewal in London in a couple of weeks. So I ended up having to do research for venues and everything else, so I was a wedding planner as well as everything else. So I just thought it would be interesting to tell you about a rather unusual week that I had. I loved it. Sometimes I hanker for the quiet life, but this was really good, and I'd love to have some more. So maybe you know somebody that can help me. So that's it from me for this time. Do join me next time, and I promise you that vows that wow will produce tips that wow for you. And there will be something. Bye.